Yo, the views and opinions expressed in this podcast are solely of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of Smash Productions or its affiliates.
Finally TV.
I struggle with addiction and alcoholism, so
This is an ugly nigga, bro.
How you feel your boy's soul got sucked, boss?
the pod.
Creating the demise of humanity.
Could be
Booga booga doo, nigga.
It's hard work, man, like you said, but he says, good looks, my nigga. I'm like, nah, said, do me a favor, make sure you never call me that anymore.
What's going on, y'all? It's your man Smash coming at you with another episode of the Smashcast Live. Ooh. Mess that up, brothers. The Smashcast. We're out here, old habits, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. The Smashcast, we're out here. Let's get to this, man. We got a big podcast today for y'all. And Smash, Ike Stay High Dixon. Very special guest, bro.
Very special guest.
Hudson Valley royalty out here, brother. Like, in all honesty, this is. I'll be real with you, our biggest podcast yet. Mary Yvonne Flowers, how are you doing, miss?
Wow. Thank you. Nice introduction. Woo, I'm feeling so important.
Well, it's actually quite reserved given our, you know what I'm saying, given what's capable. But yes, we thank you. So we don't have a lot of time. You're a very busy woman. We're going to get right to it.
Okay.
We want to know what we can about you.
Okay.
And we're going to try to come back and do another one.
Okay.
Down the line.
Okay.
When you get a moment. So I was at your inauguration, and we met there, and I didn't know. Me and my man, we've been living in Poughkeepsie for years. Okay. I've been here way, like, it'll be 20 years at the end of the month.
Oh, wow, okay.
And my man, he's been in and out of PK, Newburgh, that general area. He's bounced around a lot. And your family's name has held weight. Like, we've heard it on and off. My parents know who you are. We don't, especially your father, we don't really know like that.
Okay.
So
what we're really trying to find out is, who is Yvonne Flowers?
Okay. Well, if you want to know who Yvonne Flowers is, you got to know where Yvonne Flowers came from and where I kind of got my values and my passion to serve this community. And I got that from my father. You know, and the reason why the Flowers family carries some weight because of my dad. It's the work that he did in this community. And he's been very entrenched into the community for the last, I say, maybe 25 to 30 years. He always enjoyed helping people. And he started off giving gifts out to kids in the hospitals. And then he just branched from there and started giving out gifts to people around Christmas time that he felt needed someone, you know, to show that they cared. And so from a young age, we were wrapping gifts, you know, as teenagers, like, why do we have to do this? He said, because we're going to go out there and spread some joy, you know, because he felt like sometimes, you know, people need somebody to help them uplift when they're going through so much. So he started doing that. And then what he did is he brought it out, and that's when he started doing the Easter egg hunt, the community day picnic, which was really was a picnic. It was a church picnic where he wanted to get all the churches together, you know, of all different denominations, to be able to come together and be united. That was his biggest platform, is how to unite the community. When you unite the community, you share the resources that they need, and then that helps the community to be able to progress. Because now we're in this together, and that's what he felt like he wanted to do, to help spread hope and joy and love and respect for one another. So everything he did was on that foundation. So from there, people will come to him and ask him, you know, they need help with you know, I need furniture, I need, you know, food, I need certain things. And what he did is he found the avenue of where they can go to get those resources. So that's how my father was known from so many people, because he didn't know how to say no. He really didn't.
Understand.
Yeah, he didn't know how to say no. And I watched him, how he served the community in that capacity. As time went on, we were having some challenges in the city of Poughkeepsie. So my father felt, hey, I see you in different organizations helping out. I see the way you move. I think maybe you should think about going into politics. And I said, absolutely not. I do not want to go into politics. At that point, I wasn't even voting. I registered to vote as an independent. At least I thought it was independent. I was really in the Independence Party, but I didn't even vote because I didn't really believe in politics. I didn't believe in government. I just felt like people just say what they're going to do, then they turn your back on and they're going about their business and leave you out there. But it was when I worked hard to get into my home, and then a couple years after that, we had a lot of drug activity on my block, to the point it was taking over and it was becoming unbearable. People were shooting up on our porches, and this was almost about 15 years ago. So it was rough. We were going through a tough time, and that's when I was told, if you run for city council, you'll be able to make the change here. And I was like, I don't think so. I want to find another way to make that change. But then, like, this is an avenue that can help you turn turn your neighborhood around. So I decided I'll go ahead and run. And that was my father really kind of pushing me. And, he was there with me. It was me and my dad that campaigned. That was my campaign team. It was me and my dad at the time, and my husband at the time. And when I got in there, it was a win that people didn't expect, because I was in the independents, and I ran on a Republican Party line because I couldn't run on Democratic line because I didn't get that support. So when I won, they were shocked, because that usually a Republican, a person that runs on a Republican line would not normally get that. So what happened is, it was like people were rallying around. Okay, wait a minute, what is this all about? And for 2 years, we worked hard in the community, me and a team of people, and we were able to change around the situation, and change the quality of life that was in the Fifth Ward, and that was in the Winnicky, Harrison, Smith area. There was a lot going on. If you ever think about that 24-hour store that was on Winnicky, near White, we had to shut that down. And it was done with a team of us that did it, because it was causing a lot of problems and deteriorating the quality of life in our neighborhoods. And that wasn't something I thought I would be capable of doing. But when you got a team of people around you who are very passionate about making change, a lot can get done. And that's what happened, and from there I realized that, this is an office, being in part of government can help make, that substantial change. So I stayed with it, in and out of government, but my dad was always there to kind of push that. And of course, you heard the story about the whole thing about getting there as mayor, before he died. And I told him, I don't want to do this again. I don't want to, I lost a race. I won a race. I lost. And I was like, I don't want to go back and forth like this. And he said, I need you to stick with it, because one day you're going to be mayor. And I was just like, that's not happening. I don't want to be mayor, because that's another level of politics that I don't want to be a part of, and he was like, no, you can do that. And so I just kind of ignored it, pushed him off, like, okay. Went back on the city council and stayed down there for about 6 years. And then that's when I was approached about running for mayor. And it was a lot of convincing, because that wasn't something I wanted to do. Because I felt like the higher you get in politics, it takes you further away from the real being entrenched into what you need to do within the community. That's how I felt. Because I felt, now you're mayor, you got to go around, you wave your hand, you say a few speeches, you sit in the office, make some decisions, and you're going about your business. But I didn't want to be about that part of it and have to be part of dirty politics, as as I looked at it. But I was told, no, we'll be there to help you. We'll be there to support you and encourage you. And it took some time. I had to do some praying on it to figure out whether this is what I really want to do. And then when I realized the changes that I really can make in this city, I decided to take on that challenge. And everything else is history.
Understandably.
Yeah, so this wasn't the plan. This wasn't my plan. But apparently it was a plan. There was a plan out there, but it wasn't mine. I'm here, and I'm going to do everything I can to try to help this city in the best way that I can. And only way I'm going to do that is by the people in this community helping me. And because we can't do it by ourselves. We need the community to come together to do this. I was tired of seeing the city divided. We always had that north side, south side thing in Poughkeepsie. And I kept looking at it that, I want to see a change with that, because I need to see. My dad, his platform was to unite. And so how do I do that in this position? So that kind of motivated me as well to move on to run for mayor. So that's kind of my story in a nutshell. I mean, there's a lot of other stuff that happened in between that, but that was just kind of what happened and how I got to this point. And my dad was a big part of that. If he did not introduce, the value of community service, from the beginning, and believing in me that I can handle the different tasks in this journey, I wouldn't be here today. So he was a big component to why I was on this track, to get into this position. So, and then there's the people that are around me that keeps me sustained and not have me lose my mind in this, because it can be very challenging, but very rewarding at the same time.
You definitely answered most of our questions just right there. I ain't even called you. She answered most of them.
Show me the list again. Show me the list again. Brothers, I can scratch it. So, you know what I'm saying?
Well,
Scratch them
it's the
jammies.
journey,
Yeah, it is about the journey.
But you ain't got to take the Eagles to the tower now. You don't have to do that.
That's cool, though. That's cool because in all reality, I want to know, since I know you're a really busy woman and all, and I know your family is what got you here, mostly your father, So how do you juggle your family and the business aspect of being the mayor?
That's a really good question because sometimes it's a little difficult. My kids are grown. So,
That helps.
they're grown, but I have 7 grandkids, and they're so used to me being with them. When they were younger, every weekend, I was trying to do something with them. Even when on the council, we always did things together, and they were involved in the community work that I did. So I actually bring them in with me. But now as they get older, it's they have all different needs, and so I have 3 grandkids that are older. So they're like, well, what do you want to do with us? And then they have the ones that are younger. So what happens now being there as mayor, my day goes on from early morning to late at night between meetings and going to different events and what. And then sometimes, I get that phone call well, Grandma, can we spend some time? Can we go out or do something? And I'm like, okay, let me schedule this. It's almost like now I got to put them in the schedule. So I have to start making more of a balance because every weekend, I'm not used to that. Every weekend I'm doing something out in the community. So now this is a 7-day job, to the point where when do I find time for myself? And for me, my kids are grown. I'm home, by myself. So it doesn't really matter. If I was married or, I have to be oh, wait a minute, I have to be home at a certain time so I can spend that time. But when you don't, you forget. You're well, I don't have to worry about it. I come home when I feel like it, So I can keep working and working. But then when it comes to the grandkids, they're well, can we have a day to us? And that's what I had to just do this last weekend. At least spent 5 or 6 hours with them, and they've really enjoyed it. And I realized I got to find a balance. I definitely have to do it. You have to, because the fact is that when you're in this position, I'm here for 4 years. Hopefully I can get reelected if that's what I plan to do. But at the end of the day, your family is always there with you. Your family is there forever. So you can't just push them to a side for a job, because at the end of the day, you're going to need them, and they need you. And so I have to remember that, my family really should be coming first, especially my grandkids, because they're looking up to, mom and dad and grandma, and we want to be a part of what's going on with you too, but at the same time, we don't want everybody taking you away from us. And that was something that one of my grandkids expressed to me. They were we feel like we don't see you as much. I know you're busy. And they like the attention. They like the attention. They're oh, you're Yvonne Flowers' grandson, or you're Yvonne Flowers' granddaughter. And they're ooh, they were saying this to me like they're part of a little celebrity thing, But at the same time, they get in that point well, when do I have my grandmother to myself? So it's tough. And it's something that I have to balance, definitely, because I don't want to lose the relationship that I have with my grandkids. And that was something I noticed that with my dad. He was so entrenched in the community that he didn't do that well when it came to balancing, and when he was sick and on his deathbed, and he basically, everybody surrounded him to be there with him, and then the grandkids are sitting there trying to figure out well, I'm not that close to him. So, and he realized it too, and he said, I wish I would have did more with them. And I don't want to make that same mistake. So that's why I have to make that balance.
How long was your father active like that? Like what? Like I'm talking like years.
Active in the community.
Yeah. How long did he? Because his name held weight for so long.
For a long time. My dad, once he retired, he was a contractor. So once he got hurt and he retired, and then he couldn't bowl anymore because of his arm. That's where he got hurt, in his arm and his back. He was sitting there like, what do I do now? And he always liked being involved and doing things. But, when he got hurt, it was like, okay, I don't have any real the motive to go and do anything else. And he thought about, well, wait a minute, I like helping people. So he started jumping into that. And so he started like when he was about, I don't know, in his 50s, I guess, or like late 40s, when it came down to the work that he was doing in the community. Before then, he used to, everybody remember him from the bowling alley, that's on Taft Avenue. So he used to throw the parties there.
Whole bowl.
Yeah,
Whole bowl.
he would throw the parties there. Because he was on a bowling league. So everybody knew that he was always finding a way for everybody to have fun and come together. So he enjoyed that, and he was like, how do I translate that out into the community as a whole? And that's when he started developing all these events. And that's what he did. And he was known because of these events that he did that brought people together. And from there, people started making connections, and then he turned around and decided to do a radio show, and he filled in for this particular person, loved it, and he would bring everybody on the show, because he felt like this is my way of connecting the community. So he was well known because of what he did and the connections he made out in the community. But he wasn't a rich man, but he would do anything he possibly can to help a person, even if it means that he would go without. That's how he was, and that's why I told him, I said, when he passed away, he didn't pass away as a rich man in money, but he was rich in pride, and respect in this community. So that's so it's been about 25, 26 years that he was actually in the community doing what he was doing on that level.
And because he's still moving through you.
Yeah.
Like that's what that is. Like, that's gonna keep going because you like all that when during your inauguration and everything, like you had the utmost support and just there wasn't as many people there, but everybody there, like I kind of knew a little bit of everybody. Like when I say not many people there, it's like. I know not a lot of people aren't into politics. They don't know what goes on, and they try to. I think people aren't told what happens and what gets into it. Like, and because what you just said with your family, trying to strike that balance, it's like any job. Like trying to do that. Like I think anybody trying to reach a higher position can relate to that situation, because you don't want to take that away from them. Like I got a dog, and it's like anytime I'm like more than 2 hours out, I start thinking about her, like, cause she's getting up in years, and it's you want to strike that balance, but also it's like, yo, if I don't leave, you don't eat, I don't eat.
Yeah.
So how are we gonna do this? So
it's tough.
It's terrible, and you got 7 grandkids and. I don't know how many kids you got.
I have 3.
Kids.
They're grown. I'm not worried about them. They're grown.
It's the grandkids that you got.
It's the grandkids in there because they're younger.
Right.
And then before you know it, they become like my 3 oldest ones. The oldest is 18. So yeah, my oldest grandson just turned 18 in January.
He got an Xbox. He's good.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know what
I'm saying?
Yep.
What about the other ones? They're still in middle school. Like...
Yep. So they range from 18, 17, 16. 11. She's 11 now. 11, 9, 6, and 5. So they're all different age groups now. So I tried, something I do with the 18-year-old is not something I can bring them all together because the 5-year-old will like, I want to do this instead, So
Right,
I had to try to be creative.
Gotcha.
So I told him, I said, listen, we're going to plan a nice little trip. We're all going to go away together, So they're looking forward to that. So that's something that we're planning. But, they keep me grounded.
Are you worried about what's going on with the kids nowadays? You just said 5 to 18, and we see what's going on with these kids. We hate it. I hate it. I'm disgusted. utterly disgusted. Like, it was not like how we were growing up, 26, he's 27. We was not.
Nah, it's still. I mean, it wasn't like it, but like I could say it's kind of the same because they still doing the same thing.
What are you talking about?
Same thing.
We
Yeah, well,
ain't
for
have
me
all
as
this-
growing up, it's a little different. You know, it was a little different, and even with my kids, it's a little different. I mean, we all had our challenges. I mean, saying that when we grew up, we all had, dealt with certain influences that were out there that we had to deal with. You know, you still had drugs that were going on. You know, you still had gang and gun violence that was going on. But to a different extent. I mean, you find a lot of our kids seem to be really misguided and frustrated, angry. No real regard for human life or respect for each other. It's a different level. And I am concerned about it, and that was really my biggest motivator. Piece for to go into this position of what I can do to help our kids, so that way, because they're our next generation. So what happens is, if we don't start getting them on the right track where they can become these productive citizens in our community, we're gonna have more trouble than we're having right now. It's gonna be really bad. So right now, sometimes you got kids raising kids. Where you have people having babies at such a young age and they're still maturing themselves. So when you start seeing parents are sitting with their kids and getting high and drinking, you're like, well, wait a minute. I would never expect my mom to do something like that with me, but it's happening. And then you wonder why our kids act the way they do sometimes. Or you get some kids that they're left out there by themselves to govern themselves, to raise themselves, because for different reasons, because the parent has to work 2 or 3 jobs, or because the parent just, they're doing their own thing and not realizing that you have a responsibility. So what do we do as a community to try to teach people responsibility? What is their role, in being productive in our community? So, I'm concerned. But we do have the Children's Cabinet, that I am a part of. It's a group of organizations that are really working hard to provide that kind of support and services that our kids and family need, all the way from the time they come out of the womb to the time that they're ready to go to college. And that pipeline of services are being set up so they're wrapped around them. So as they're getting the education and coming out of school for the day or what, there are other services there to provide for them. That child has housing insecurity. How do we get these organizations to work with that family? The child's having food insecurity. How do we work with them? Because a lot of our kids are dealing with adult issues that they're trying to manage along with being a kid. So how do you take that away so that way they can focus on being a kid? And if they're dealing with bullying, how do we help them work with that? Because I didn't have social media like they have now, so they're exposed to a lot more. So how do we make sure that what they see on the social media doesn't become now the whole situation that teaches them now how they're going to navigate through life? Because you can't believe everything that happens there, so you have to make sure to be able to navigate that with the right tools. So that's something that we really need to be working on. So, and especially in this position that I'm in, a lot of kids never thought that they can get to this position, so they're saying, like, listen, you could obtain this too, and these are some of the avenues that you can do in order to do that, and so just open up these possibilities and opportunities to our kids and then give them the guidance and tools to get to that. And I think sometimes we miss that. We tell you, this is what I need you to do, but then show me how to get there.
You don't know how many times I was trying to, because I was,
What?
nobody, because you're right, nobody would tell, we had to learn this on our own.
Right.
And if there was somebody who was capable of telling us, they either weren't around, we didn't know how to get to them, or we had to pay out the wazoo to go get to them, which was horrible. Yes, it's fire being self-taught, but like you just said, that's such a detriment to the child's health,
Right.
especially because if they're not confident in their own abilities and they just didn't have that role model.
Right.
Like you were lucky to have your father. I'm lucky to have my parents. Other people who aren't that lucky
Right.
to have that mentor.
Right.
And us doing this, we've met a number of people doing that giving a level of mentorship out there, and they exist.
And even for me, it was, as I was growing up, my father has helped me in the community service world of it. But even while I was in school, there were mentors that were helping me along the way. Like I brought up in the altar service, I had Lorraine Roberts who helped me to see my interest into accounting in the finance field. And because she has taught me and helped me in that field and showing me and mentoring me, that's the career I went into. And then you have Mrs. Mann, who saw in me when I was in high school and believed in me and actually gave me some tools that I needed to help work in administration, because I got an internship with her. And then she was like that second mom to me. So there were different people. I grew up in the projects and, we had, at that time, other people's moms was your mom. They're like, see you like, hold on, what you doing? Yep. It wasn't like, and then my mom come home and she come back, this is what happened with your child. And he's like, thank you, I'm going to deal with it. It wasn't like, stay out of my way, don't get in my child's face, don't say this, whatever. Everybody came together. So it wasn't just even my parents, it was a community. Like they said, a village raising a child. I was part of a village, that also helped me get to the point that I'm at this point. And so now I want to be a part of a village that helps the next generation, and make sure we build that village of really productive people to help our children, to give them the guide, to show them this is what you need and this is what we're going to do to help you, and then you take it from there where you want to go with it. But at least that there's someone there that when you fall, we got you, and we're going to help bring you back up, so that way you feel you have that support. That's what I want to see for this community. And it's happening. It's happening. It's just sometimes it happens over there, happens over there, happens over there. It's time to bring it together so that way it's a more massive force that people see. And they're like, you know what? They're here for me.
Unity.
Yes.
I haven't seen much of that north side, south side stuff going on. I mean, I did more so when we were younger. I did see a lot more of that. But as of late, when you say north side, south side, like, it's gentrified. You know what I mean? Like, so I see they coming, and it's crazy because I saw what happened to Beacon. They already took that over.
Right.
That's gone. Beacon gone. They dipping out of there. We were in there asking black people around, yo, where they at? Where we at? Where we at? Not here. That's what they said. And it's crazy. Because I didn't know gentrification was wild like that. And I hate to bring it up, you know what I mean? Like, I don't like talking identity politics like that because I think it's always on the person first, and then we can take it there. Nah, that's real. I didn't know. I really didn't think it was real until then. And now it's like everybody's going to the Carolinas, Georgia. Right. I think people are. I heard somebody told me that people aren't getting so much more aggressive. I think they're getting a lot more defensive, which in turn, I guess, causes aggression. Right. So that's a good way of looking at it. Yeah, because I mean, now it's almost like you're fighting in survival mode. Instead of being able to thrive, you're like fighting to survive, at any means necessary. Oh, man. Right. That mentality right there is what's killing us. Right. Because they say straight up, and it's the kids. It's the kids, but it upsets me because they say it more, but adults say it, and when the adults say it, it hurts me. Right. Because that by any means mentality is like, okay, I'll give you a gun. What you going to do with it? Exactly. What you going to do with the bag is right there. And that's why we have to provide more of these opportunities and giving the things that people need so that way they know they have options. Right. Because sometimes when you feel like you don't have options, you feel like you're pushed against the wall, you're going to come out fighting. Right. You're either going to come out fighting or you're just going to die. So what do you expect people to do? And this is what they do. So, and sometimes they have different ways of how they fight. And I'm talking about mentally and physically. Right. So we definitely have to find a mechanism that, okay, well, instead of you going in this route and feel like you have to deal with it in this way, let me show you another alternative that would bring a more positive result, right. But they got to see it, and see that it's working. And that's what, because I could tell you over and over again that you shouldn't be doing a certain thing, that this could work, but show me. And then more of us need to practice that too, especially when it comes to confrontations like with the whole gun thing and what. A lot of our kids don't know how to deal with confrontation. They just know that if I got a conflict with you, we're going to handle it. It's no more going out there like it used to be. Yeah. Let's duke it out. Yeah, they'll put you on your shirt. Right. For real. It's crazy now, and I can shoot you just because I don't like the way you looked at me. Right. You know what? You looking me up and down, you disrespecting me. Exactly. Next minute, now I'm holding the gun. Next time I see you, I'm going to show you.
All why? Because I looked at you different.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what's happening. Same thing with our girls. You know, our young ladies.
Man, the
You
ladies
know.
shooting too.
Yeah. Yeah.
The ladies are
They're doing a
shooting
lot
too.
more than shooting.
Yeah.
They're getting shot in more ways than one, which is the issue.
Yeah,
what
so
I'm
we
saying?
do have to do more and help our children, you know, and give them the guidance that they need, you know, and on all different levels, you know, from me, yourself, there's different people, we have different perspectives and experiences that can help our children.
Right.
So, you know, and I think we just need to collectively be able to do that, you know, and show them that, listen, I've been through this path. It's not going to end well, you know, and let me show you all, you know, why, you know, and just making sure you got the right people to connect with our kids so that way they can relate, you know, and that's what we try to do as well. Because the gangbanger that's out there, he ain't going to relate to me. So I get somebody that's out there that I know turn their life around and say, hey, can you talk to this young man? Because I can't get through to him, but he can understand you because you've been through it. You know, and that's why I tell people in the community, we need everyone to come on board to help. You know, so that's what we're doing.
I got 2 more questions because we're short on time. I only got 2 things. Because these are the 2 big ones, and especially this one. I want to know, how do you feel about, does it matter, because now that you're married, does it matter that you're a woman, B, you're a black woman? Because we've seen them photos out there. You breaking that mold. You was breaking that mold crazy. 1800s. And here it is.
1800s till now.
We saw them photos, yo. It's crazy. It's nutty. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? He got like 3 females in the 90s, and that's it.
Yes.
But personally, I could care less. If you're fit for the job, you're fit for the job. But
Right.
realistically, though, does it matter that you fit these boxes? Let's say boxes. You break these barriers, glass ceiling, all that jazz.
It does matter. I mean, I would take it that, you know, people elected me. The majority of people elected me because of my experience in finance, also my experience of being on the city council, and that I lived in the city of Poughkeepsie. But then you have a portion that voted for me because of the fact that I'm black. And they did it because they felt like, well, now we have a person in there that can have a different perspective. And I feel that it's very valuable that you have a person in there that can look at a different perspective of things and be able to make decisions based on the experiences I've gone through as a black person in the city of Poughkeepsie. Because some of the things that are happening or some decisions that were made kind of left out certain, individuals, you know, especially the black and brown community, you know, where it was like, okay, well, did you really see or understand the impact that it's going to have on this particular community? So I realize now being here, because sometimes I'm having these conversations and people looking at me like, well, why would you say that? Well, let me explain to you why. Because they don't understand. Because they don't realize that I'm bringing a different perspective and a different experience to it. And this is the reason why. And like, I didn't even think about that. So now people feel like, okay, we have someone who can help represent us. But in the meanwhile, I'm a person who has to represent all, no matter who you are in the city of Poughkeepsie. But the fact that now you have someone here that's of color, you have a different perspective and be able to be a part of the decision making in a different way. And I think it really does help because I can look at it and say, well, hold on, this decision that you're making right now, well, guess what? It's going to impact individuals that might be, you know, that live in public housing, that, wait a minute, they need X, Y, and Z extra services because of X, Y, and Z. Sometimes if a person doesn't go through that, they don't realize that. They don't like, oh, I didn't even think about that. That's why it's good to have someone who has that perspective so that way you'll understand that. So that way we're making sure we serve all people, you know, versus just, you know, the people who are kind of in your circle or in your corner. So what happens is when you look at that wall, you know, some decisions, as some of us council members had to fight, like, hold on, wait a minute, that decision that you're making is really going to impact our neighborhood. Or when that store is causing problems in that neighborhood, the administration that was here didn't care what was going on over there. I'm going to be real with you. I had to fight on that. They weren't caring what was happening over on Winnicke. You know, only time that happens is if, well,
No, I'm sorry. What happened? I'm missing something. Or
Well,
with
it's
the store? No, I know about what happened with
it's
the
a
store.
24-hour store. People were hanging out there all day, all night. Shootings were happening. People were being harassed. People were complaining they couldn't come out their homes. They didn't feel safe. It went on for years, to the point that people started tagging people's property on the street. It was almost like we were living in a war zone.
Nicky and White. I think, yeah, when it came.
Yes.
Right?
And it was the store's fault?
Yeah, well, because there were some things going on in the store that attracted individuals to stay in that area to conduct the things they were doing.
I'll talk to you about it later.
Yeah, everybody knows about it. Because the first thing they did is like, Miss Flowers shut the 24-hour store down. And I'm like, no, it wasn't just me. It was a group of us. But that was it. When that changed, the whole area, the whole dynamic changed once that store was closed. And that was one of the things, and I had to fight for that. That's not something somebody should have fight for. If there's anything going on in your city, no matter where it's going on, you should be putting the same resources and energy to make it right. And that was not happening. And that's why I felt like, you know what? You have to be in these seats to make sure that people understand that whatever happens over here, like if that was happening over on Hooker Avenue, that it would be a different effect because people would have come out.
Real different.
Yeah. If that was happening in front of 7-Eleven, do you think that would go on for years?
Not at all.
Well, you
No.
got Krieger, you got
Done
that,
just like
you got
this.
that, you got that Jewish center,
Exactly.
by that Jewish center.
And that's why we were trying to explain and saying, listen, it has to be
got you
fair
there.
all across the board. And now it's starting to happen. And it was happening even when the previous mayor was here. Because with Rob, he started coming out with me, out into the community and started understanding what was going on. Because he never went in those neighborhoods. Only when he was a police officer, he was in the town. But there were some things that were going on. He said, and he told me, bring me out into your community so I understand what I need to address.
Right.
You know, and when he did that, it made it easier for me when I was on the council and I said, hey, I got this going on. I need help here. He was like, I totally understand, because he came out to figure out what the problems were.
Seeing is believing.
Exactly, and that's what he did. But I can't say that happened with previous mayors. You know, that it's almost like, yeah, I know it's there, but I don't know exactly what to do with it. Yeah. Well, you need to figure that out. You need to figure that out. So, you know, I just think that it's a little different when you have someone in there that understands the perspectives of, you know, and understands the experiences that people are going throughout, you know, the city. Because even though as a black woman, I still have to make sure that I'm still the mayor of everyone, of our Latino community, you know, of any other ethnic groups in this community.
You represent everybody.
Right. But the thing is, it's different. When you go through struggles,
Oh, yeah.
you know, when you go through struggles and then get a position like this and understand what that struggle is, your fight is a little different.
Uh-huh. Oh,
It's
yeah.
a little different.
Real different.
Exactly.
So you're more prone to helping your
Of the ones
Yeah,
who are
yeah,
struggling.
the ones who are struggling,
You
yeah,
really
quite.
are. You really are.
Last question, because I know you got plenty to do. What's your plans? How we gonna do this? You know, how we gonna? Because you just got in January, and you know you got 3 more years to do your Obama.
You put that extra stress on me.
Extra stress you are. Like, I mean, well, you saw the photos. Your people done did it with your father. Blame him, man, if anybody. Because you going to get reelected.
Okay.
There's somebody who, I don't know who's at this moment going to be better than you. Got you. Wait, I don't know anybody. See, that was your sister. She just flagging us down.
Okay.
You going to get reelected. Real. Be real. 'Cause I don't know who else is. Jesus would have to come down. That's it.
Okay.
Real, I'm serious. Like, I don't know who else would usurp you. You're gonna run your 2 terms, and then whoever comes.
Well, what my plan is to build on what was already done and make sure we're still going in the direction of progress. You know, I look at the housing stock here, and we're having a problem. And so right now we're working on plans to strategically to put things in place so that way, especially our working families, have a place to live. Because right now, like you said about Beacon, you know, people who are coming up from Beacon and coming up from the city, they're able to afford some of those rents and well. But for the working class, they have to turn, you know, people who are not making as much have to move somewhere else. And so that's how they moved out of Beacon. But I don't want people to move out of Poughkeepsie. I want them to be able to stay here. So how do we have that balance that no matter where you are on that social ladder or on that income ladder, that you can stay here in Poughkeepsie? So we're really working on that. The public safety is a big issue as well. Because right now the city of Poughkeepsie seems to attract everything, you know, to the point because our county has these services that are here. So working with them to make sure that, listen, let's spread out these services so throughout the whole county, so that way we don't feel like City of Poughkeepsie has to take on all the burdens of everybody throughout the county and the state, because it overwhelms our services. So we're working on that as well. My goal is that in the time period that I'm here, that I'm moving closer and closer to the point so families can really feel really proud. Anybody here feel proud of living in the City of Poughkeepsie and feel like they're actually thriving in this city. That they actually can say, hey, I see that economic growth that's happening here. I see businesses coming in and job opportunities are out there for our individuals. I see our kids coming out of the high school and feeling proud and saying, I'm going to go to college or I'm going to end up going to this vocational school because I want to get a job right there. I want to see that, not people flying out of Poughkeepsie and then others coming in Poughkeepsie because they're flying from some town that they can no longer live in, because that's what's happening right now. You see our people who live here and they're like, I'm going to North Carolina. It's easier to, it's cheaper to live there. And then you got someone from the city coming, I'm going to Poughkeepsie because it's cheaper to live there. And now you have a mix of individuals and you start losing that history, of people that are here, that are growing up here and then be able to provide, something for the next generation. I want to have that legacy of individuals in your hometown to be able to thrive here. And it's hard to do that right now. So we're going to do everything we can to make that happen. So the housing, the public safety is a big thing that we're working on, and having those employment opportunities there. And what can I do when I'm developing the waterfront, when I'm dealing with changing our zoning so that way we're developing our main street, and what else that we have to do through these neighborhoods to make sure that there's economic engines throughout the city that's actually sparking us for growth. And that's what I'm looking at as well. I'm looking at the long term of it. When I leave out of here, I want to know that I left Poughkeepsie in a better state than it was when I got there.
Got you. Got another superwoman here.
Yeah, John. Well, I can't do it alone. Trust me. I have a really good team here at City Hall. Great employees that really, we're all aligning on that vision. And then it's a great army of community warriors out there.
Oh yeah, definitely.
That's out there to help as well. So it's all about galvanizing everybody and say, let's do this.
Unity.
That's right.
That's the whole basis of it all, is unity.
You got 7.5 years to do what you got to do. You know what I'm saying?
He's putting it out there.
It's going to happen. Tell me I'm wrong, dog. Like, dog. Like, you going to be on that Obama? Like, come on. You the black female president they was waiting on. You know what I'm saying?
Ooh, that's even more pressure.
All right, man, Flowers, thank you very much.
Well, thank
it has
you.
been an honor, you know what I'm saying, to have
Thank you. Yeah,
Hudson Valley royalty.
And thank you for making me feel all comfortable. I could just spit it out,
Yeah.
It was great.
If we was at the waterfront, it'd be a whole nother conversation. You know what I'm saying? Like, but we gotta be straight. We in sacred ground. Thank y'all very much for watching. We appreciate this. Smashcast. We're out here. Mayor Yvonne Flowers, Ike Stay High Dixon, and Smash. Like, subscribe, share. Take care, y'all. We got work to do.
Yes, we do.
Smash out. And smash!